Next stop everywhere.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, back in the TARDIS once again. It's been a couple weeks, but I'm here, and I'm joined by someone very special as we're showing off our CD collections. Yes, physical media, everybody. And, of course, I'm joined by this week's special guest companion, one of your all-time favorites, special guest companions, John Takacs, returning to Next Stop Everywhere. How you doing, John?
Not too bad, not too bad. You did a poll. I'm one of the all-time favorites.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll take that. That's great.
Yeah. You were like top of the poll. Yeah, that's the ticket.
That's the ticket.
That's the ticket. Yeah, I know. I'm dating myself with that reference.
I know. Yeah, some of the younger kids are going to be like, "What are they talking about right now?"
Yeah, exactly.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
No. Seriously, you are. Obviously, we always have you on for like our big special episodes. It's when we're doing our big group. So as far as I'm concerned, you're definitely up there. And I'm sure our listeners would definitely agree with me as well on that. But today, John and I are going to be talking episode 237. We're going to be discussing Return of the Cybermen. And
Revenge?
Not Revenge,
okay.
Which we still have to talk about. We will talk about,
right.
We will discuss Revenge another day. Although we will be discussing a little bit of Revenge during this discussion here.
Yeah,
but
it's creep in and out somewhere.
It is. I'm sure it's going to bleed through all over the place on this one. But Return of the Cybermen, for those who aren't aware, the televised version, Revenge of the Cybermen, from the Tom Baker era, Tom's first season, that was not the original draft that was produced.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Needless to say, there was some, surprise, there were some changes to the script. And as a result, Jerry Davis, the co-creator of the Cybermen, who wrote this script, his version was kind of tweaked by, shall we say, the writers like Robert Holmes, and because of the producer and stuff deciding, I wanted some changes to this, especially to accommodate Tom Baker becoming the Doctor. So consequently, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in trivia, but the changes that were done essentially resulted in a different version, and Big Finish Audio decided to go ahead and produce, as part of their Lost Stories range, the original draft by Jerry Davis. Yeah, ooh, look at that. Yeah, you've got some Return to the Cybermen artwork that John is showing up here. Where's that from, John?
Well, there was back in the 80s, there was a fanzine called the Doctor Who Bulletin, which eventually in 1989 became the Dreamwatch Bulletin. Well, thankfully in 1992, they decided to print the original script for Return of the Cybermen.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I wasn't aware that existed.
It was when they were putting this together in audio form, they took the script that originally was handed in, and then this was actually tweaked. They had this copy as well.
Okay. Interesting.
They just went. You
want to describe that for our listeners out in podcast land who can't see what you just showed me?
It's basically the issue number 92 from January of 92. That's dating us to.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, the last portion of the issue had episodes 1 through 4 in script form.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's I've read it since listening to the Big Finish audio. It's not exact,
Right.
but it's really close.
Yeah. Well, this, since you brought it up, this Big Finish audio version was adapted by John Dorney from Jerry Davis's script, so it makes sense that they made some changes.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, for the sake of time, or just the way the story would flow in audio as opposed to on the television screen. So it's a different medium, so they probably adapted that accordingly.
Right.
I'm guessing, and then probably just made some stuff that didn't really work, or vice versa. Who knows? But yeah, this one, like I said, adapted by John Dorney. Directed by Nicholas Briggs, who, of course, Doctor Who fans know is the voice of the Daleks, the Cybermen, which, of course, he voices here as well, and others. And this was the first audio story from Big Finish's Doctor Who The Lost Story Series 6. It was released on March 17th, 2021 of this year, so happy St. Patrick's Day belated.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, stars Tom Baker as the Fourth Doctor, but Sadie Miller as Sarah Jane Smith. And this is interesting because, of course, Sadie Miller is the real-life daughter of Elizabeth Sladen. So you may want to, break out the Kleenex box as you think about, how awesome it is that Sadie Miller is taking on her mother's role as Sarah Jane Smith. Because who better, right, to do that?
Exactly.
And I think as far as I'm concerned, she has first dibs on that.
Right.
So I was very cool with that. She actually reprises Sarah Jane Smith for a Big Finish Third Doctor audio, The Gulf, from their Third Doctor Adventure range, which I have not listened to. One of those that features Tim Treloar as the Third Doctor, instead of John Pertwee, obviously, because he's no longer with us. And she's also played a recurring character, Natalie Redfern, in Big Finish's Sarah Jane Smith audios.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought I'd mention that. And we also have Christopher Naylor taking over the role of Harry Sullivan from the late Ian Marter. So that's the problem when a lot of these serials are now getting on 40-plus years. And sadly, the original actors are no longer with us. But Big Finish has been pretty good, as far as I'm concerned, with their recasting of these roles. Yeah, especially in the case of Sadie Miller. So no arguments there. All right. And guest cast, in addition to Nicholas Briggs as Captain Jim Warner, who's around for like all of 5 seconds before he gets killed off, and also playing, the voice of, like I said, the Cyber Leader and the Cybermen in this one, we have Nicholas Asbury as Commander Stevenson/Peterson, and he's notable because he played the character Atuan in the Zygon inversion from the Peter Capaldi era.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have another Nicholas, only spelled Nickolas, Nicholas Grace, as Kelman, who's notable if you have the 11th Doctor Blu-ray sets, because he played the character Albert Einstein in 11th Doctor, Doctor Who Minisode, Death is the Only Answer. Mm-hmm. And then we have Amanda Shodeko as the dual role of Anitra and Coetzee. Robert Whitelock as Bill Lester / Badenhorst, who's notable, who played Mahler in The Bells of St. John from Matt Smith's era. The first one that featured Clara Oswald as an official companion.
Right. So,
apart from that, trivia, and this is, of course, where John loves to shine. So I already mentioned Sadie Miller being the real-life daughter of Elizabeth Sladen. Now, Jerry Davis, who, like I said, was the co-creator of the Cybermen with Kit Pedler, wrote this initial script, and Robert Holmes's rewrite added the Vogon elements and changed return to revenge. And the script was modified to incorporate Tom Baker's style, like I was talking about. and had to be rewritten to modify how Jerry Davis envisioned the new Doctor. Because apparently Jerry Davis didn't have information on who the casting was, I'm guessing. So he wrote the new Doctor as a more timid, reserved figure, kind of like Patrick Troughton's Doctor, which is definitely not Tom Baker's Doctor.
Right.
Right? So obviously they had needed to do some changes there as well. And rewrites by Robert Holmes made the Cybermen more emotional than Jerry Davis was happy with. And Davis was also unhappy with the story's title. Now, the story tells a different version of the events of Revenge of the Cybermen, but contains no in-universe attempt to reconcile the conflicting accounts. John Dorney, the guy who adapted this script, had originally factored this into his original version of the script, the Big Finish script, but the scene was ultimately decided to not be recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And that scene in question, if you're wondering about it now, because of course you are, it saw the reappearance of the Time Lord Messenger from Genesis of the Daleks. The guy that just kind of popped up and sent the Doctor on his mission to go back to take out the Daleks during their creation. But that Time Lord Messenger would explain that the failure of the Doctor's mission on Skaro had caused history and the Doctor's own timeline to rewrite itself as a result of the fallout from the last great Time War. And the Time Lord would have then vanished, insinuating that the Doctor's actions would have caused a time war, although the word war was cut off. So I don't know what that means. Caused a what? A time rift? Time alteration?
Time crack, you never know.
Time crash, perhaps? But the
That
Doctor...
would have been cool, though.
That would have been cool, right?
Yeah.
I would have been good. I would have been good with that. I don't know why they changed that.
As long as they wouldn't have him disappear like he did in the other Time Lord did in Terror of the Autons with that little.
Yeah, I know that one. And the guy that reappears just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that? It was from Terror of the Autons, wasn't it?
Yeah, Terror of the Autons.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, that's right.
Yep.
All right. Just making sure. So the Doctor and his companions would then experience further timeline distortion as the return timeline becomes redundant. And then when the distortion settled, the trio would arrive back on Nerva Beacon, where the final lines of dialogue delivered by Sarah, Jane, and the Doctor quite literally echo their opening lines from Revenge. Talking about, where Sarah says, thank heavens for that. We've made it, haven't we? And the Doctor would say, of course we made it. Didn't you think we wouldn't? And then the end of Return would have led directly into the start of Revenge, with the events of Revenge, just like in the real world, essentially overriding the former, but still allowing both versions to exist within the same continuity. So I can see where that could kind of be a little confusing.
Well, deja vu.
Hey, we just did this, and then we have to do it again, only the second time it counts, right? So, I'm of two minds, because one way, I think, like you said, I think it would have been cool to have that Time Lord Messenger there, because, I'm surprised they didn't do more with that concept, but...
Otherwise, it goes really, really well as a standalone story.
Right. The way I'd approach a story, and I'm sure if you're any comics fans would probably understand this, I approach this as like a Doctor Who what if.
Yeah.
To use a Marvel Comics term.
Mm-hmm.
This is the road not traveled. So, one way it goes Return, the next way it goes Revenge. And so if you're just curious about that, what was that original version like? Well, Big Finish was kind enough to do it up properly and present it for us. And the single most significant change between these two stories, Revenge and Return, was the complete excision of Voga, the Vogans and the Civil War subplot that featured in Revenge of the Cybermen.
Mm-hmm.
Voga was replaced with a gold-rich asteroid in this story. The Vogans by a lost tribe of colonists who inhabit the asteroid. And the tribe plays a far smaller role than the Vogons do in Revenge. Much of the action, consequently, takes place aboard Nerva Beacon.
Mm-hmm.
And while the basic plotline aboard Nerva is largely similar to Revenge, the Cybermen intend to launch the beacon at the asteroid right away, rather than attempt the cyber bomb strategy first. The cyber ship plays no part in the story, with the Cybermen having already infiltrated Nerva and hidden themselves aboard as volunteers on a kamikaze mission. So that's what we're presented with in this story.
Right.
So, do you have any other trivia? I know that's a lot, but...
Well, in terms of supporting cast, I guess when Nicholas Briggs, when he approached Sadie Miller to play the role, he was really gung-ho to have her do it. But then when she talked to her father, who was still alive back then, he did. After reading the script, he didn't think it would do the character of her mother justice. But she went along and did it. So,
right, because she's essentially out of commission for the better part of 2 episodes.
Exactly.
Episodes 2 and 3.
Right. And she joins an actress named Daisy Ashford, who is actually the real life daughter of Carol and John. In terms of Daisy Ashford played her mother in one of those Third Doctor adventures. I think it was Volume 7 over here.
Oh, okay.
So
I wasn't aware of that. That's awesome.
I just found that out this morning when I was doing a little bit more research. But I was like, okay, I might want to check that one out too.
Yeah, I wonder if she sounds like her mom.
I'm curious about that because when you hear Sadie Miller, I mean, obviously she has her own voice, but you can tell that they're related.
Yeah,
and you kind of get lost in it after listening to it for a few times, but. She. After a while, that's Sarah Jane. Even when she says her name's Sarah, the way she says it, it sounds like Elizabeth Sladen.
Yeah, it's distinct enough, I think. I mean, there are differences, especially if you're like a longtime Doctor Who fan like us. So you can probably hear those differences, but I think Sadie Miller, she has enough of Sarah, her mom's posh accent as Sarah Jane. That she hits that kind of especially when she gets outraged or annoyed with Harry or something to that effect. I can really kind of see the relation between Sadie and her mother.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, it's obviously not as good as having obviously Elizabeth Sladen there because we all wish we could have Elizabeth Sladen again.
Sure.
But if somebody's going to replace her, I'm more than happy with what Sadie Miller did here, and hopefully this means we'll get some more down the road. Fingers crossed. So, I know I especially now that they've also recast Harry, it certainly opens the door, possibly, as long as Tom Baker's health holds up. Presumably.
Yeah, that's the big thing right there.
Right. So that's our main concern right now, I think. All right.
Do you
have anything else?
Yeah, this was one of the few stories that Nicholas Briggs actually asked for more time to work on the music because apparently he is a complete lover of Revenge of the Cybermen. So he wanted to get the same kind of like upbeat tempos that they had.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And just work in like the stuff that he's got now, bring it into this story along with some of the old kind of like little catchy little hoppy theme tunes and everything that are kind of synonymous with Revenge of the Cybermen. And you hear elements of Revenge, but then you also hear other elements of like Sword of Orion.
Oh yeah.
They kind of merge, and Sword of Orion is one of my favorites.
That's one
music.
That's another one we haven't talked about, but it's Paul McGann's second audio as the Eighth Doctor for Big Finish.
So good.
So. Yeah, I mean, I'd never thought of that until you mentioned it, but I think you're absolutely right about that. Good connection there, John. I'm not sure who the composer was for this, but I thought they did a really great job nailing the era. So, it definitely feels like that first Tom Baker season, the series, season 12 music. So, points to Nicholas Briggs for being kind of a fanboy about that.
Yep.
And trying to, get that a little more on target. All right. Nothing else, or you got some,
Looking around right now. Let's see. Oh, it was nice to see them bring back the fact that radiation is harmful to the Cybermen that we first saw way back in the 10th Planet.
Right. Yes.
That was part of the original script.
Yeah. And not to mention, we also get the 500-year diary in this story as well, which actually factors in pretty heavily, I think.
Yeah, they talk about it quite a bit.
Yep. All right. So 3 topics today.
Mm-hmm.
So very simple, I think, to break this down. So topic number 1, let's talk, of course, our TARDIS team. So we're talking the 4th Doctor, and we also want to talk, obviously, Sadie Miller as Sarah Jane Smith and Christopher Naylor as Harry Sullivan. And I'm really curious to get your thoughts, since I know you're an old-school Tom Baker fan.
Mm-hmm.
What you thought of this version of the original, of Tom Baker's original TARDIS team.
Well, after listening to it, normally with any kind of Big Finish audio for me, it takes me a few listens to like really get immersed into it.
Yeah.
And first, unless it's obviously the Doctor, Sarah, and Harry, all of your supporting casts kind of like blend together. It's like, okay, who's talking now and who's this person? And then usually by my second or third listen, I know exactly who everybody is. The TARDIS team in this one, they just seemed to gel right from the beginning. It felt like I was just sitting there watching the VHS of watching the Doctor, Sarah, and Harry, and Harry Sullivan is an imbecile, and I wish they would
Harry
put that
Sullivan
in this
is
one.
an imbecile.
Oh, I wish they would, because I am a lover of Revenge of the Cybermen. That's been that was like this first Doctor Who VHS I got. In fact, part of my collection right there.
Oh, excellent.
So.
Excellent. Yeah, for everybody at home playing the home game, he's showing me the VHS copy he has.
Yes.
The original one from Warner Home Video of Revenge of the Cybermen, and he's got an actual, like, Mego-style action figure.
Yes, from Biff Bang Pow. I had to get the Cyber Leader.
Excellent, the Cyber Leader.
But yeah,
that's cool.
Revenge of the Cybermen is one of those stories where either you like it or you don't like it. There's not a whole lot of in between on that one.
Right.
And I like it a lot. And it just, like I said, it was the first Doctor Who VHS I ever got. I was surprised this thing would. I probably won't play now, but I still got it for posterity's sake. But,
maybe after some time has passed, we need to have you back on to discuss Revenge of the Cybermen.
Oh, that'd be like Christmas. But yeah,
would it be a golden Christmas?
Oh, golden dusty Christmas.
There you go, golden. Yeah, gold dust Christmas.
I was still trying to find a Cybermat to print off of my 3D printer. So. But
awesome.
No, they seem to gel right.
I would name him Bitey because for obvious reasons. Yes.
Chompy.
Well, that's why the Doctor, the 11th Doctor, nicknamed him in one of the Cybermats in Closing Time. So.
Oh yeah, because that had that horrible looking mouth.
Right, the piranha-like teeth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. I liked Bitey. I thought he was cool. I was really impressed because I wasn't sure going in. This was my this time listening to this for this podcast. This was my second time, so I was a little more familiar with it. This audio, and as a result, I think I appreciated the performances more on this time. Because obviously the first time I went through, having never really heard Sadie Miller, at least seeing her in interviews and whatnot, but hearing her as her mother's character, Sarah Jane Smith, it took a little, like a very few seconds of getting used to, but I got into it really quickly. But there was that little bit of adjustment, like, okay, because I'm sitting there trying to kind of compare and contrast against Elizabeth Sladen's voice. But I got into it, and the same thing, I think, with Christopher Naylor taking over for Ian Marter. So it did take a little bit of adjusting, probably more for Harry. But I got there, and as a result, even probably maybe halfway through part one, I was all in. Yeah. And
you're not listening to Sadie Miller and Christopher Naylor.
No.
You're listening to Ian Marter and Elizabeth Sladen.
No, and the funny thing is, it's not really like they're doing impressions.
Mm-hmm.
They're just kind of doing it.
That would have been that would have been a wrong move to do if they did that.
Right. But they do kind of give their own spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the same way I feel about listening to the first Doctor audios with David Bradley as the first Doctor and Claudia Grant and all the others taking over for the original TARDIS team. But I really appreciated it. And, here in this version, we kind of get a very similar vibe, obviously, to Revenge of the Cybermen. They still show up. And, I really enjoy the opening scene where, they just get on just rematerialize a Nerva station, and they come across this pile of food. And it's funny because Sarah is the one who's starving. Mm-hmm. So she's just like, can we eat this? Can we eat this? Can we eat this? And Harry, of course, being Harry, is trying to discourage her from this. He's like, it could be poisoned or whatnot.
We should test it first.
Yeah, we should test it first. And Doctor, don't you think we should test this first? And by this point, Sarah and the Doctor are already chowing down.
Yeah,
and the Doctor kind of burps. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, consider it tested."
There was enough small little bits of comedy in there too. It was perfect. I absolutely loved the lines in this one.
But yeah, as an old school Tom Baker fan, that scene I think completely won me over right out of the gate. I thought it was very strong and worked really well as this audio. But ultimately we find out, like I said, poor Sarah Jane gets bitten by a cybermat, just like she does in Revenge, and gets kind of sidelined for the better part of 2 episodes. And the Doctor has to spend most of this episode trying to figure out a way to convince the Cybermen to get an antidote.
There's a nice callback to the moon base too. Because he says he can see the veins and her nerves and everything, and he says, "I know I've seen this before."
Right.
A really nice callback.
And the Doctor, it's another callback to the Patrick Troughton era is when the Doctor pulls out his 500-year diary, trying to remember.
It's so funny they can't remember it.
Right. Well, granted, he's had hundreds of years of experiences.
Right, yeah.
But you would think that would kind of stick in his head a little bit more with the Cybermen, right?
Right.
Apparently not.
T. What are those? C and T.
Yeah.
And then he goes, celery. It's like, no.
It's like, how do you get celery with a T in it? I don't get that. Unless you put your celery in tea or something. I don't know.
And those ended up being Cybermat and Telos.
Yes, of course. So, yeah, it's just it was a little weird, but Tom Baker, of course, carries it off perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
And it was kind of nice to have the 500-year diary kind of be a plot point once again. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that.
And honestly, if they decided to do another, a Lost Story or whatever, or
I hope so.
I would love to see this team back together again because they pulled it off.
Yeah, I thought they did. And, it's maybe they could get a little sidetracked before they go back to help out the Brigadier. Just saying. Mm-hmm. But, it's, I definitely want more. And let's see. Any other highlights from the TARDIS team you'd like to share?
Even though, like I said earlier, when her father said there wasn't a whole lot for her to do, I think I thought there was plenty for them. They were always involved.
Right.
When part of the crew would go this way, one of them would go with them. So there was always something going on so they knew what was going on, in either direction. And I really enjoyed the way they took this.
Yeah, I did as well. And like Sarah, once she finally wakes up after being given the antidote, she's immediately trying to come up with ideas. When 1 minute she's like, I've got an idea, and then not 3 minutes later, she's like, I've got another idea. Mm-hmm. So she's definitely contributing, like you said. But yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. And let's see what else. I guess I don't really have anything, specific in mind, unless you had anything you'd like
I'm going
to
through my
discuss.
notes right now. I got like 4 or 5 pages of notes right here, so it's.
I know there's a lot to go through, but just there's a lot of great lines from Tom Baker which we'll obviously probably cover in quotes. And I also liked, the friction between the Doctor and Kelman, who we'll talk about here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that the Doctor was, quickly suspicious of Kelman. He's like, he's making little veiled references. Like, hey, I know you're a traitor. I know you're a collaborator with whomever's behind this.
Something's going on, yeah.
Yeah, so I know you're all kinds of shady, dude. I'm totally on to you. And, and Kelman, to be fair, is kind of reciprocating because he's always trying to have the Doctor and his companions killed.
Right.
So.
Now let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
When you got your copy, did you get it from Big Finish or did you get it from Who North America?
I got mine from Who North America.
Okay, all right.
So
when it was released, I went to Big Finish and they've got a nice feature where when you buy like the actual hard copy, the physical copy of it, you get a free download.
Yeah.
So I was able to download it and listen to it before I even got it in the mail.
Yeah, that is their plus, because that way you don't have to wait, for whenever it comes through the post.
International shipping and
right,
all that,
exactly.
And especially with COVID going on.
Yeah, because obviously I'm a tangible media guy, so like I prefer this. So I tend to wait until it shows up on Who North America. But you told me that you got your copy first. You've had yours for a while before I got mine. So I'm kind of jealous, and I'm thinking, well, maybe they got their act together with so maybe I should try that and see how fast I can get copies from them. And, cut out the middleman, so to speak.
And honestly, it came pretty quick after I ordered it. I got a package in the mail and didn't even realize what it was, and then I get quite a bit from from the UK to begin with. Yeah. And when I opened it up, I was like, "Oh, it's here!" Yay!
Yeah, I know that. I know that especially if it's one that you're really anticipating. When you open that package up, you're just like, oh yes, I can savor this now.
Yeah, it was.
And then you look over at, like I'm doing right now, at my stack of unlistened to Big Finish that I still have to work through.
Yeah.
My pile, my stack, and I think, okay, how do I prioritize this? So,
but it was a nice little surprise to get it as early as I did.
Yeah. All right. So if we don't have anything else about our TARDIS team, let's move on. And let's talk about the Nerva crew a little bit. So let's talk about Commander Stevenson, Kelman, our uber shady Kelman, Anitra, and Lester. So especially we want to talk about Kelman, but this Nerva crew, they've been in the quarantine, kind of an imposed quarantine, as we find out through the course of the story, that when the plague started showing up and crew members started dying, and now apparently the crew has been whittled down to just a few remaining crew members left, but they're not able to leave the station there because nobody will let them out, essentially. So they're stuck there until they either figure out the cause of the plague or the plague just kind of goes away by itself, presumably meaning everybody with the plague dies. So, obviously things have gotten pretty nerve-wracking, and as we find out, though, Kelman has been doing some things on the side. Apparently it turns out he's been working with the Cybermen, and so he knows what's really going on here. And then when the Doctor and the others show up, he is quickly threatened by these intruders and wants them off the ship as fast as possible. So one of the ways they start to do this is they have what's they call a crusher room.
Yes.
Which is used, I guess, to dispose of waste or whatever and compact it. And I don't know if they just chuck it out into space or what. Seems like kind of space littering, but okay. But they managed to kind of get the doctor and the others, presumably because of this food, they get them into this crusher room, and it's there where Kelman tries really, really hard to kill them until he says, "Oh wait, I've got this experiment running, so Anitra, can you watch these guys get crushed to death for me?"
Mm-hmm.
And he just tips out the door. So what did you make of all this introduction to this crew?
Well, I first off, I love the fact that this is during quarantine that we got the story about them being in quarantine.
That's kind of funny, right? Yeah.
I mean, Kelman's
tragic, but funny.
Right. Kelman's a dick either way. Whatever story you're watching, and whether it's or participating in, whether it's Return of the Cybermen or Revenge of the Cybermen, he's just a jerk.
Right.
But yeah, he gets them in there. He's like, okay, well, guess what? We have to kill them. Okay, well, when did you resort to murder?
Right.
And
a little bloodthirsty for a scientist.
Exactly. And the thing's going down, 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 and they're like yelling and trying to get a hold of somebody.
Right.
And he says, "Okay, I have to go. You take care of this." And she's and even as she leaves, she says like, "Why'd you? I can't. You don't put this on me."
Yeah, yeah, because here the doctor's calling out, saying, "Hey, look, don't crush us. We're just here, and we can help you guys." And yeah, Nitra is like, I can't deal with this. I can't even today.
Right. And
so
I looked it up, and this was actually like, the script would have been done 3 years before the trash compactor scene in Star Wars.
Right.
And I was just like, okay, well, I wonder if somebody kind of said, "Hey, George, how about this first scene?"
Well, let's just say it wouldn't be the first time George Lucas nicked from Doctor Who. I'm looking at, the Tusken Raiders, and taken from, which episode was that from the Pertwee era? There was some guys that were like tribal guys that are raising their staves and doing their not really like the Tusken Raider noise, but they were kind of doing the gesture.
From Colony in Space, yeah.
Yeah, and then of course the hyperspace thing, which got parodied on Family Guy.
Right.
Which was like my ultimate, I love that moment because I've been thinking about that for years.
And how about
so points to Family Guy for making that connection from hyperspace to the Doctor Who credits from the Tom Baker era.
Then you had the spacesuit that was used in 10th Planet, which was also Bosk's uniform.
Yep. And I still say to this day that Yoda was based on William Hartnell.
I can see that.
See what I'm... So, yeah, it would not surprise me. I'm just going to point that out there. But yeah, Kelman, like you said, is a kind of total dick.
Yeah.
And more so once we find out, he's actively working with the Cybermen. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, the doctor's onto him right away, keeps trying to infer that, he knows, he's keeping an eye on Kelman and tries to I don't want to say manipulate him, but tries to indirectly expose him, or hoping that Kelman will expose himself.
Right, make a mistake and let everyone know what he's up to.
Exactly, but Kelman, works is still like every time the doctor or Harry or Sarah try to help with something, or Kelman's always there, like hey, people can't be trusted. We don't really know who they are. We should get rid of them. They're trouble. And he's constantly working, trying to manipulate the opinion.
Manipulate and distract.
Yeah, he is.
Once they start coming up with something, he does something to distract them away from it.
Yeah, needless to say, he's all big on disinformation.
Yeah.
So much so he should be hosting a far right TV news network, I guess, or news channel. But he's very manipulative, and we find out that Kelman turns out he's got a little side thing he's working with the miners on this asteroid. So apparently he goes there regularly to try to get gold from them.
It's very condescending to him as well.
Right. And he apparently knew the son of the leader there, Ketsi, who we're introduced to.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently her son was helping Kelman somehow on the station. But we find out through the course of the story that, hey, her son was killed. He's the skeleton that the Doctor and Harry come across.
Skeleton in the closet.
When they start investigating these oxygen tanks that turns out there is no actual oxygen in them. Surprise, surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Doctor, of course, once that comes out, the Doctor's like, well, hey, Kelman, this is your turf, right? You should have known that, there was no oxygen in these tanks, right? And, even though, the indicator looks like it's been messed with, and somehow you didn't notice that? Well, how could I notice that? He
puts it on the dead sun.
Right, exactly. He's very quick to throw everybody under the bus.
Yep, exactly.
And, so much in when he goes to the asteroid one last time to try to get as much gold as he can before the asteroid gets trashed by the Cybermen, that he brings some food for everybody like he does it usually. And he slips up, though, because he says that this food was handpicked by Ketsi's son for her. And she opens it up because, she thinks it's a little odd. It's like, well, especially when the Doctor's trying to point this out, that, my son didn't send a note, did he? And then Kelman's all trying to come up with a last-minute excuse going, well, hey, actually, your son, he was so busy, but he told me to tell you that he loves you.
Mm-hmm.
And
here's your favorite food.
And here's your favorite food. But Ketsi opens up one of those food packs, and bum, 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 it's fish. And apparently Ketsi is, allergic to fish. She
calls it poison.
Yeah, she says it's poison to her.
Yeah, for some sort of food allergy or something.
So, and she's all like, my son would never send this to me, okay? My son knows that, this is poison to me. So busted. Yep. And Kelman quickly, pulls out his gun, is like, okay, bye, and runs out.
Yep, he actually does that.
So thankfully for the Doctor, who was under suspicion at this point, ends up had to be freed. Mm-hmm. Because they thought that he was trying to steal their gold dust, which kind of he was, but for a very good cause.
Right, yeah, for different reasons.
Yeah, so what did you think of the way that Kelman meets his ultimate fate?
It was bittersweet.
Yeah. I thought it was rather explosive.
Yes.
Because poor Ketsi, she makes the mistake of believing Kelman when he says that he needs help. Mm-hmm. And goes down this corridor, cave, tunnel, I should say, to try to help him, and gets wounded, shot in the process. Mm-hmm.
But she's even told, don't do it. Don't go down there.
Right, exactly. You can't trust this guy.
Right.
Just totally lied to you. So she gets shot, wounded, but before she checks out, she lobs a couple of sticks of dynamite his way and blows up the tunnel. Mm-hmm. It sends it crashing down upon him, killing him. So they kind of take each other out in the process. Yep. Yeah. But not before she dies and says, Doctor, save my crew, or save my people. Get them on the, promise me you'll get them on Nerva Station. Mm-hmm. So, any other thoughts about Stevenson, the commander who kind of has to take over after Captain Warner dies quickly?
I liked him. I mean, what's his name? Nicholas Asbury?
Yeah.
The first time I listened to this, I swore I swore up and down that was Rupert Graves.
Interesting.
It
Now that you
sounds
mention
just
it, I
like,
can see it. Yeah, kind of.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's a few scenes where when you hear it,
a little bit.
you're either hearing was it Rydell or even Lestrade,
Right. Yeah,
and
well,
just
from
like
Sherlock. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I had this after I listened to it, I had to go back and see who the cast was.
yeah,
I was like, damn, that's not him, but he sure sounds like him.
yeah. Yeah,
But no, he's
you probably want to go listen to the Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. Watch
mhm.
that, and then listen to his voice there, and then come back to this audio and compare the
Yeah,
two.
it's uncanny, but
Yeah,
no, I really liked what they did with him because it seemed like he was more of like a man of action
yeah,
rather than just like the stalwart commander who's tired and all this. I mean, yeah, they were down to almost the last man, but he was still in charge.
yeah, yeah. I think that was one of the things because this adaptation was done, here in the 21st century, first and foremost,
Hmm.
compared to the televised episode. That obviously they tweaked the characters and updated them, probably for the times a little bit.
Hmm.
And Nitra's got more to do, so it just feels like they're just a little bit more have a little bit more depth.
And I liked Anitra. I thought she was a really cool character.
Yeah, once she gets over her initial hey, don't pressure me on this,
Hmm.
don't guilt trip me with your dying and all. Once she gets over that, she actually turns into a decent character.
Yeah,
She stays behind, helps Sarah keep watch over her, make sure hopefully the Cybermen don't do anything hinky with her while she's
right.
out of commission.
And the two of them, they work well together too.
Yeah, I thought they did. So, yeah. So, anything else about the Unnerva crew that we
Uh,
didn't cover? You want to
Didn't
cover?
really cover Lester that much, but he really didn't have a whole lot going
Well,
on.
Lester just mostly helps Stevenson, especially
Yeah,
when they're
yeah,
tasked with
just more
repairing
like
the
his right hand
reactor.
man.
We're trying to get the reactor up and running, but
Yeah. No, they were. I think they had more. They were a little bit more in depth in this story than they were in Revenge of the Cybermen.
I think so. I did think, it was a little odd that, like they're all in the beginning. I keep going back to this, but they're all listening in to when the Doctor, Sarah, and Harry first show up.
Mm-hmm.
Wondering what they want. So they're also they're
Kind of
like,
creepy.
okay, we're just going to listen to these guys for a while and
Yep.
figure out what they're up to.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. If there's nothing else, let's move on. Topic number 3.
Mm-hmm.
As we breeze right along, let's talk the Cybermen and the Cybermats. So Nicholas Briggs once again voicing the Cybermen, and the story's notable because I think this is the first time we get to see the Cybermats in Revenge since what was it? Tomb of the Cybermen?
A brief appearance in 1970 in Carnival of Monsters,
Okay,
but before that it was the Invasion.
the Invasion. That's what I'm thinking
Yeah.
of. Yes, thank you for setting me straight. Yeah, you're absolutely
Mm-hmm.
right. That's it. Okay, now I get it. But so I dig the Cybermens. I think they're very cool. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
they're little pets for the Cybermen,
Yeah.
and they're almost like pet snakes, as it turns out, because they're equipped and they can actually attack you and inject you with this cyber plague.
Yeah,
So
especially in this one, it's,
right.
in the televised version, they got an upgrade from just being like the little bug type,
Right.
little road type thing. But I've
Yeah.
always thought they were really cool. That's when I was growing up watching the show on PBS, I always wanted like a radio controlled Cybermat. I thought that would be
I think that'd be cool, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally with you on that. And maybe because it's audio, I can't, you don't quite have to really picture the Cybermats kind of jumping up in a kind of a comical way and biting you on the neck like a vampire.
Yeah, they do that a lot with
Like they leap, they spring up all of a sudden.
right. Well, Nick Briggs he was pretty smart with the way he did it too, because he did a lot of that through sound effects.
Yeah.
and he gets like a spring sound in there, and he actually has like almost like a slithering sound when they're going across the floor.
Yeah.
But he's borrowed from the original story, and then just added in like those little like pops and jumps and all that. So yeah, you can
to leave it up to the imagination.
Right,
yeah.
you get the visual in your head as it's happening.
The theater of the mind.
Yep.
Yeah. So what did you make of the Cybermen in this version? Do you see them a little different from Revenge?
A little bit. In Revenge, I think this is why I love it so much. They're just so campy.
Right.
And like the whole concept of revenge to something like that wouldn't understand. Like I would have no need for that concept.
Yeah.
They're just just like programmed. It's they're program. They're basically going to turn the beacon into a flying bomb, and it doesn't matter to them if they die or not. They even make light of this in the story. They say, okay, well, if this happens, you're going to die too. They're just like, it's all part of the mission. It's all part of what we have to do.
Yeah, they talk about how they volunteered for this.
Yeah,
they literally say that. They're like, oh yeah, okay. So who wants to die blowing up this asteroid filled with gold? Me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. I'll do it. Well, everyone's like, nope, not it.
I volunteer as tribute.
Right.
To use a Hunger Games reference. But I did like the fact that with Nicholas Briggs, at least the cyber leader in this one, compared to Revenge, doesn't sound like he has a bucket over his head.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the one in Revenge kind of talks like he's talking in a bucket, all stiff and formal like.
Right. No, thankfully he did the voices justice on this one, and I guess apparently the cyber leader was originally supposed to be like way bigger than all the other Cybermen.
Yeah, he's supposed to be larger.
Yeah. Kind of like
that's actually what Tom Baker's doctor describes him as. The cyber leader is larger, and he has the black helmet.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's funny though because let me pull it up here. The artwork kind of gives you almost a Revenge, but with a tomb type helmet for the leader. So almost like a cyber leader / controller, which I just thought was pretty cool when I saw that.
Yeah, I'd say so. But their big plan here is, hey, we want you to get your engines going, so we're going to pilot your station, which is just supposed to be hanging in orbit. We want you to steer this thing and rev it up as fast as you can go and hit this specific point on the asteroid, which will knock the asteroid out of its orbit and send it flying into the sun.
The sun, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's the big plan. Because, hey, that thing's filled with gold, and we don't want any of that getting out, even though there's still gold aboard the station, but okay, whatever. Especially since Kelman has been, probably pulling out as much as he can during his various trips.
I was surprised he doesn't have gold on his pockets.
Yeah. Well, remember, when Kelman is visiting there, the doctor notices, everything they have, their axes and hammers and chairs and tables and whatnot is made of solid gold. So I gotta think that he's probably stealing the silverware, which is actually the goldware, and pocketing that.
They're very protective of their stuff too.
Yeah, they are.
He's just he's trying to steal my gold. It's like, well, there's gold everywhere, dude.
Right, exactly.
He scraped the wall.
Look, there's some right here on the ground. There.
Right. Oh, you tripped over it.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what they're being so picky about, but the Cybermets, after Sarah recovers, one thing I thought was interesting, probably should have mentioned when we were talking about Sarah, but I like the fact that Sarah thinks she was reprogramming the Cybermets.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how she would. Suddenly, she's an electrical engineer or something and can do that, but she seems convinced that she was reprogramming the Cybermets too.
All she really did was just fill their reservoirs with gold dust instead of the poison.
Right. Yeah, that's basically that was her function. It was her
Mm-hmm.
and Harry swapping out their cyber plague containers with gold dust containers, and then piloting them to attack Cybermen
And
instead.
she's very adamant. She says, "No, I did that."
Yeah, she is.
She really is.
And I'm sure Harry is just kind of like, of course, Sarah. Of course, old girl. Of
Right.
course. Of course you did.
Now, I like the fact though that the antidote had to come from the Cybermen themselves.
Right.
The doctor told him, he said, "You know what? We're not going to help you unless she lives."
Mm-hmm.
And they end up just giving them the antidote. So it's not like in Revenge where they had to transmat down to the asteroid to
Right.
Voga and to just get the poison out of her that way. And the Cybermen actually had to say, "Okay, yeah, I guess we kind of need you. So here's the antidote."
It did seem a little convenient because when they were making that deal, the doctor's like, "Yeah, okay, I'm not going to help you unless you give me the antidote to help Sarah."
Mm-hmm.
So the Cybermen leader talks to his fellow Cybermen. He's like, "Open up your chest unit." Oh, here it is.
Yep.
Okay, so go do what we want.
Right.
And interestingly, they make a big deal of, well, ironically, making a big deal here that they make this pact with the Doctor and the Nerva crew, and for some reason, everyone is surprised when the Cybermen break the deal.
Right.
It's like curse your inevitable betrayal. And the Cybermen, especially the Cyber leaders, trying to explain this, going, "Well, we are logical, and therefore, we have no meaning, no understanding of the word pact.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We just need you around, so we're going to keep you around.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is." And then,
They
and
don't
then,
understand
and funny,
facts or giving your word.
and then the funny thing is, later on, the Cyber leader gets upset when he gets betrayed.
Yes.
So, not at all hypocritical here.
Right.
Suddenly, he's all about the pact.
I still laugh when I hear that.
You betrayed me. Well, yeah, you betrayed us first, dude.
Right. You don't believe in giving your word, so guess what?
Right. What goes around comes around, my cyber brother. But
it made it feel like a classic hero story.
It did. It was, it definitely had the charm of one, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Anything else about the story you want to talk about?
I knew from reading over the old script that they weren't Vogans, they were miners.
Right. Do you think those worked better?
I actually like the Vogans.
Okay.
The miners, it just, all you know is that they've been stuck there for a long time. You don't know where they're from. Are they originally from that planet, or it wasn't even a planet? It was an asteroid by that time.
Mm-hmm.
And even in Revenge, it was considered a planet.
Yeah. It didn't really feel like a culture. It just felt like people that were stuck there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, almost like they're on survival.
Yeah, hey, we can't, there's no ship to pick you up, so. And they were stuck there for apparently 25 years.
Yeah, might as well keep on mining then.
Yep.
But I like the fact in Revenge you've got a whole civilization down there, a culture. There's a civil war going on, and right out of nowhere you see the seal of Rassilon on the walls.
Yes, yes, you do.
And in my headcanon, Rassilon worked with them in the past, so they were so grateful they put his symbol up there. So.
Well, how about the that Time Lord from Genesis of the Daleks? That guy was popping up and kind of working with them or whatever, and trying to teach them about Rassilon. That's how it got there. Yeah,
I'll take that. Yeah, I'm one to talk because I've got the seal of Rassilon everywhere in my room down here.
You have a seal of Rassilon on your arm, as I recall.
I do.
As a tat. You've got ink of that. I've seen this. I have a picture of it.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
I love that symbol.
It's a cool symbol. I grant you. It's a great idea for a tattoo, certainly. If I did the ink, which I don't because I have hairy arms, but If I did the ink, I would. That's one I would consider, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so if we don't have anything else, and let's talk about favorite quotes. Do you have any favorite quotes you'd like to share?
Oh, in the beginning where they arrive, and
Yeah.
it's, Harry says, "Well, it's a mess. This place is a mess." And then the doctor's like, "Yeah, it is kind of unkempt." He says, "No, a ship's mess." Like,
Yeah, he's speaking in naval terms, right?
right. I got the chuckle out of that when I heard it the first time because I kind of knew what he was talking about, being working in restaurants. I
Yeah,
knew,
because yeah, on a naval vessel, the
mm-hmm.
kitchen is called a mess, ship's mess.
Yes,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah. Let's see, I've got a few here.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctor, Sarah Jane are talking. The doctor says, "A scratch, you say? Now, where's my 500-year diary?" Sarah Jane is like, "You keep a diary?"
Yes.
And the doctor replies, "Well, I live a fascinating life. I should publish. The reviews will be sensational."
That was one of mine.
Sorry to steal yours.
And just the Tom Baker charm in that when he says it.
Yeah. Do you have any others before I steal them?
No, I had those two.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Let's see. The doctor talking to Kelman, where the doctor says, "There's no need to get jumpy. I just want my diary." And Kelman says, "I'll take that." The doctor replies, "Well, it won't mean much to you, I'm afraid. It doesn't to me, and I wrote it."
Right.
Which obviously, because he doesn't even remember what's in it and can't read his own writing, apparently.
Yep.
And let's see. Bill Lester and the doctor. Let's see. "Not so fast. Careful." And the doctor replies, "Now look, I'm always careful, especially where guns are concerned. Do you mind not resting your gun on my third rib? I'm ticklish."
One of the few times that Lester is like remembered in that one.
Yeah. And lastly, the doctor with Cybermen I have, where the doctor says, "My friend has been attacked by one of your charming pets."
Mm-hmm.
And proceeds to kind of kick the Cyberman or whatever, or Cybermat. And the Cyberman says, "Do not damage the Cybermats." And the doctor replies, "Don't damage my friends, and I won't damage yours."
Mm-hmm.
I like that line.
Getting ready for the standoff.
That was good. Okay, so what's your rating for this story, John?
I was, like I said, I was waiting a long time for this one when it came out. I was thoroughly enjoyed. When I heard it, like I said, Big Finish Audios, I listened to them like 2 or 3 times before I'm really invested in it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this one it flowed so well. They did a great trailer for it before when they announced it. I was just like, ooh! I think I had goosebumps when I saw it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one just it ticked all the boxes for me. I know it's not perfect, but I'm going to go 9 out of 10 gold infused Cybermats.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm a little below you.
Mm-hmm.
Not much, though. So I'm going to give this one 8.5 out of 10 500-year diaries.
There you go.
So
I was kind of like curious as to how the voices were going to be done with Harry and Sarah. And like I said, like 5 minutes in, I'm invested in the characters.
Right. So compared to Revenge, which version do you like better?
Depends on what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I know they're two different mediums because we're talking
Yeah.
a TV story versus an audio story, but it just depends on your mood of the day.
Well, this one, like I said earlier, with the I wasn't really fully invested with the whole story with the miners because you didn't get a whole lot of backstory with them. You don't know why they're there,
Right?
But at least with Revenge, like I said, you've got a civil war going on. You've got 2 different factions. You've got there's a power struggle between both sides, and then here comes Kelman and the Cybermen.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense to me.
plus, I've always loved Revenge.
Well, we're gonna have to have you come on then, because now that we've talked this, and realizing we haven't discussed Revenge yet, we need to do that.
Wow, I can't believe that.
I know. Well, it just all depends on what people grab, and they haven't grabbed that one yet.
Well, even before you started having a lot of the guest hosts on, I'm surprised you and Jesse didn't talk about it.
Yeah, well, Jesse with old stories, it's a little touch and go. He has to be really arm twisted.
And got to have that pacing going on.
Yeah, right. There we go. Thank you. Yes. All right. So reverse the polarity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one should be rather easy, shouldn't it?
Ooh.
So if you enjoyed Return of the Cybermen, I think logically, see what I did there? You should watch Revenge of the Cybermen. The fifth serial from season 12 in 1975, written by Jerry Davis with an assist from Robert Holmes, who was uncredited.
Right.
And I don't think I have to go into this one because we kind of just talked about the story, basically.
Right.
So obviously there are differences. We talked about those. But so if you kind of want to compare the two, and I definitely recommend, especially now that we've talked, Return of the Cybermen. Because this one actually kind of has me in the mood to rewatch Revenge, now that we've talked about it. So I recommend you guys do that as well. And I think you'll enjoy it. Now, one of the things I tend to watch with the new special features.
Yeah.
Because the scene in episode 4, part 4, where the Nerva is bouncing off of the planet Voga, and those really bad, like, kind of spinning ball.
Yeah, it's just like.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. So you know what I'm talking about. So,
right.
So needless to say, the special effects on the Blu-ray set, I recommend using that special effects option for that one.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, you should watch Revenge of the Cybermen.
And with that one, there's not a whole lot of updated effects. I mean, you've got a few really nice shots of the cyber ship coming in and docking.
Right.
The cyber ship when they blow it up. But the biggest thing is when they're approaching Voga.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like it's almost dizzying watching it because it's just like some big tube with terrain on it, and they're spinning it. Then they're going back and forth. And it's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I mean. Now, granted, a lot of people watch Doctor Who for the cheesy special effects intentionally, and I get that.
You love that. Watch the original.
I get that. So, yeah, if you want to do that, watch the original. But if you're somebody who realized that story could have used a little bit more oomph, check out the special features option.
Just hit that button where it says.
I respect people who watch just for the cheesy effects, though, because that's traditional. I get it. I respect that. All right, so listener feedback. Well, we actually have not one but two this time.
Ooh.
And not the usual two you might think of when you listen to Next Stop Everywhere. Although we did get Holly Mack writing in, first and foremost. So hi, Holly. Thank you so much for writing in. She writes in about Return of the Cybermen because she's a big Finnish audio geek.
Nice.
So I definitely respect that. She writes in, hey, Charles and John. Hello, Space Station Nerva. I also have to say that Sadie Miller does an awesome job playing Sarah Jane Smith and continuing on her mother's brilliant character. Amen, Holly.
Yes.
Testify. The Cybermen's comment about don't harm the Cybermets and we won't harm you, and the Doctor's response of don't harm my friends, that was so spot on. Yeah, obviously that was one of my favorite quotes.
Right, that was one of your quotes.
Harry, just follow along with the Doctor's plan. Well, remember, Harry Sullivan is an imbecile. Yeah. Love the nod to Sherlock Holmes, of course. That Doctor would have crossed paths with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Right.
That's actually a Doctor Who I would love to write one of these days. I don't know why the Doctor has not met Sir Arthur Conan Doyle on Doctor Who, but you would think somebody would have made that happen by now.
Right, by now.
Love that they kept up with a gold theme with the Cybermen. A great 4-part story. Would love to see more of these types of audios. I'll wrap it up here. Holly from Wisconsin. Well, Holly, as you probably know, there are other lost stories out there that Big Finish has done, particularly from, comes to mind the Colin Baker era.
Colin Baker, yeah.
The original season 23.
Right, that's got some good ones. especially with I can't think of what the name of the story is, but Syl and
the Nightmare Fair.
The Nightmare Fair is in there too. Yep.
That's one of my personal favorites because it features the long-awaited return of the Celestial Toymaker.
Yeah.
So there's some great ones out there. Obviously, I'm sure Holly knows of this, but for those who don't, you want to check those out. The road's not taken, the script's not made. You want to check those out.
Yep.
Highly recommended. So we also have, joining us for the very first time, writing in from our Facebook page, we have Megan Stover writing in on Facebook. So cheers, Megan. Thank you so much for writing in. She writes in and says, just found your podcast on Spotify. Hooray. Been listening to it all day.
Nice.
Boy, listen to me all day? That doesn't drive you crazy? I had to send you a gift basket or something for that. But thank you for doing that. I'm also a Doctor Who fan, she adds. I have a fan group on here that I've made. Been watching Doctor Who since I was very little. My dad loved Doctor Who, so I've grown up with Doctor Who. All right. My first Doctor that I've ever watched Who with is the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker. There you go. John approves, and so do I. That was actually my first, though. I initially watched The Seeds of Doom, but flipping channels. I didn't watch the entire story, so my first complete story was The Keeper of Traken.
Okay.
And from that point, when the Master, took over Tremas's body at the end, the cliffhanger, I was sold. I was hooked.
Right.
I'm like, I have to find out more about this show, and I've been watching ever since.
Yep. See, I had the Dalek
so it's all about the
Invasion
cliffhanger.
Yep. The Peter Cushing movie was my first one.
Oh, okay.
Dalek's Invasion of Earth 2150 AD, which you guys did an awesome podcast about.
Thank you.
I loved it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, Nick had a lot of fun with Dalek's Invasion 2150. Yeah.
My first actual Doctor Who story on PBS was Mask of Mandragora. And I still love that story.
That's a good one.
It is.
Yeah, they would be pretty trippy watching that, going down that Mandragora helix spiral.
Yeah.
That's another one we haven't talked about. Mask of Mandragora. Geez. So you see, lots of great ones left, guys. You gotta start claiming this stuff, So thank you, Megan. Sorry I got a little sidetracked there, but thank you very much, Megan, for writing in, especially since you're just tuning in. So cheers for finding us on Spotify. So hopefully you tell your friends about us. If you have your Doctor Who fan group, you should tell us about it, and we'll be more than happy to promote your group here on the podcast. So keep writing in, okay? And thank you so much for listening. And hope you keep on listening. Hope you keep enjoying what we do here at Next Stop Everywhere.
And I know another Doctor Who group that would be happy to share their information.
There you go. And hey, why don't we talk about that here shortly? So just wait for it. So if you want to be like Holly or Megan, write to us, nextstopeverywheresmg@gmail.com. That's nextstopeverywheresmg@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Facebook, like Megan did, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Or you can find us on Twitter at NextStopSMG on Twitter. Would love it if you liked and follow us there, both places. Or Instagram at Next Stop Everywhere podcast. Please like us, follow us, share us, that whole thing, because obviously we want to keep growing this community of ours. Because we got a lot of great people, would obviously love a lot more. And get the word out, everybody, if you enjoy what we do. And, John, since we kind of brought up that Doctor Who fan group of yours, why don't you give us some information about that?
Oh,
if you would.
It's on Facebook. It's the Ohio Type 40. And obviously, Type 40 is for the TARDIS.
Excellent.
We're one of the 4 big Doctor Who groups in the state. A little slow going right now because there's not a whole lot, but we share a lot of the news that comes through the big from the big pages.
Right.
But yeah, come on over, give us a like, see what we have to do, and just have a little bit of fun with us. So
excellent.
And apart from that, Instagram, you can follow me there, John.Takacs, TAKACS.1138. Star Wars fans will understand that one there.
Right.
And then I have a little YouTube channel that's about to turn 1 year old this month. It's Out of This World Models and Minis. As of recording this, I'm up to 70 subscribers, so I'm
Excellent.
really stoked about that.
Good job.
I've done a Doctor Who model already. I did a canine. It was a two-part build. I'm actually finishing my very first resin print model. I've got the Emperor Dalek from Evil of the Daleks.
Excellent.
They just announced that
I was going to say, are you
DVD is, yes.
Are you geeked that they're finally animating
I am.
that?
I cannot wait. And the U.S. released it. If you've seen the cover, it looks fantastic.
Yep.
But that's going to be the next video down the pipeline is the resin 3D resin kit of the Emperor Dalek. So.
Well, obviously when that comes out on video, I'm definitely going to want to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Just like I want to talk about Fury from the Deep still. That's the one still available for anybody who wants to join me.
That's a good
Just
one,
putting that out there.
It's a scream.
Yep. Are you not on Twitter anymore?
Twitter's just one of those platforms I just can't keep up with it. It seems like it's harder to keep like threads going with it. It's just I open my Twitter, I see stuff from like everywhere. It's like I don't want to.
That's all right. I get it. That's cool. I was just wondering because I remember seeing you on there before, so I was just like,
Yeah, I was, but I think ever since I started with the Instagram page, which I do a lot of pictures of what I'm working on with my models and miniatures.
Right.
It kind of correlates with the YouTube channel, so I've gotten a lot of subscription or subscribers through that too.
Oh, then that makes perfect sense to promote that more. Yeah. Okay. Well, I totally get that. I was just wondering, just curious. As for me, of course, at Charles Skaggs on Twitter or at Charles Skaggs on Instagram. Or you can find me on Facebook, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio, and my blog of all kinds of geeky things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot, where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on Next Stop Everywhere. So Doctor Who, Torchwood, The Sarah Jane Adventures, Big Finish audios, and more. Obviously, hey, we talked Big Finish today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then news of my other podcasts for the Southgate Media Group, including, the Phantom Zone podcast that I do with DJ Nick right now, where we are going into our 5th episode of Loki, the Marvel Cinematic Universe TV series, which has been outstanding. And as soon as John and I are finished, I'm going to be watching that 5th episode because I've been looking forward to it all week.
Yep.
And because it's very timey-wimey, so if you're a Doctor Who fan, I definitely recommend checking it out and then coming over to Phantom Zone and listening to Nick and I talk about it. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of fun. And then we're going to be bringing back Titan Talk here in August when that show returns. Titans returns on HBO Max, so stay tuned for that as well. And then Ghost with the Twin Peaks podcast to do with Zan Sprouse, whom you've also heard here on Next Stop Everywhere. We talk all things Twin Peaks, Doctor Who, Twin Peaks David Lynch, not Doctor Who. Not on that one anyway. And then coming up is our big 100th episode of Ghostwood, you guys. At long last. We did 100 Twin Peaks episodes. Can you believe it? And joining us for that very special episode is actually DJ Nick, who's going to be joining us there as well. He's making his first appearance on Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast, where Zan and I are going to be discussing and watching the European version of the original Twin Peaks pilot.
Ooh.
Because back in the day, back in the 90s, as John is probably fully aware, they had these things called home video, like on VHS releases. And the overseas market, they decided, why don't we kind of like make this TV pilot into a self-contained movie? So what they did is they came up with an alternate version with its own alternate ending. And that version is what we're going to be discussing because it's got like 20 minutes of extra footage that wasn't in the original Twin Peaks televised pilot on ABC. So we're going to be discussing the European pilot, the international version, as some people call it. And that's what we're doing for our 100th episode. DJ Nick's going to be joining us, and it's going to be a lot of fun because now we get to finally have Nick on to talk about how much he loves listening to Zan and I while he grocery shops. So that should be a fun discussion. So if you enjoy
that's great.
DJ Nick and Zan, obviously here on Next Up Everywhere, you want to check us out over there in Ghostwood. And then last but certainly not least, Drunk Cinema, which is Zan and my side gig. We just finished watching RoboCop 1987, which was all kinds of fun.
Oh, I'm sure.
Come with me or there will be trouble. And coming up next on Drunk Cinema for our 14th episode, we're going to be discussing the movie that put Tim Burton on the map, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which I believe had its first collaboration with Danny Elfman.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this is before Batman, before Beetlejuice. So this is what kind of got him those gigs. So it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of great cameos in this one, including like Cassandra Peterson, who played Elvira, is in this movie. Jan Hooks is written by Phil Hartman. Lots of great, funny people doing bits, and obviously starring Paul Reubens, of course. So I think that'll be fun for everyone, and hope everybody tunes in for that as well.
With an adult beverage.
With an adult beverage. It's encouraged. Not required, but it's encouraged.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So next time on Next Stop Everywhere, episode 238, as we stay in the Tom Baker era.
Nice.
And joining us is David K. Proctor to help me discuss The Hand of Fear.
Ooh.
The final appearance, at least like regular appearance, I should say, of Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a good time, y'all.
Eldrad must live.
Eldrad must live.
He must live.
Not to be confused with the Big Finish audio sequel, Eldrad Must Die.
Right. Ooh, there you go.
That featured Peter Davison, just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we're going to discuss The Hand of Fear. This is one I've wanted to talk about for a while, because obviously this is our last regular Sarah Jane appearance on Doctor Who. Obviously, we get her years later, obviously in the Five Doctors, and also, later in the modern era. Mm-hmm. So, but this is our original goodbye to Sarah Jane Smith, and I think it's something we definitely need to talk about here. And thankfully, David K. Proctor is going to be joining me. Dave, as we, of course, call him.
Right.
And we're going to have a lot of fun, everybody. So we'll be doing that in 2 weeks as we continue our summer schedule, because we have, lots of things going on in the summertime right now. And I'm sure you have lots of things going on, too, don't you, John? Right now?
Oh, yeah. Yep, thankfully my kids are with me for the whole month. They usually live out of state, but
That's
we're having a great time and going to enjoy the rest of the month with them.
You doing anything exciting, anything interesting?
Seeing a lot of family. When they come home, we have to go up to the West Side Market at least once.
Okay.
But we got a couple things that we always do. Can have a good time.
All right.
My little Whovians.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, John. I hope you had a good time tonight, because I totally did.
Thanks for having me with this one. I
think this was a great discussion today, and I hope everybody else out there thinks so as well.
Yes. Buy the story.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
It's
good.
Good.
Buy that CD, enjoy it, and then give us a listen again if you want.
Get the CD, get the download, whatever.
We definitely encourage you.
Fun to listen to.
Or if you're digital, obviously you can go to bigfinish.com, who should really be giving us kickbacks of some kind.
They should.
Little something for the effort, guys. Just saying. Because we're showing you all this love. But, John, thank you again. I hope it won't be too long before we get you back on the podcast. And I hope you enjoy your summer. And I hope you enjoy your kids for the month. And everybody else, come on back. Episode 238, The Hand of Fear. Yours truly, David K. Proctor. And the final regular appearance of Sarah Jane Smith. You can't miss that.
Yep.
So tune in next time, and we'll see you right here in 2 weeks on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Take care.